Curiosity dragged Saya through the breach in the time-worn border. Jagged concrete lashed at him, and warmth stung his cheekbone. Blood dripped stark like an inkblot on a virgin canvas. Saya wiped the crimson residue and let his icy blue eyes adjust to the unfamiliar gloom. Every childhood warning echoed in his mind, a silent plea to return home. But he'd come too far to turn back now. Above him a dying streetlight did little to disrupt the blackness. An ominous hum punctuated the narrow corridor as if the bulb were threatening to pop at any moment. Beneath his feet, dirt and glass grit announced his arrival as if he were a guest walking up a gravel driveway. "They'll smell what you are," the voices in Saya's head hissed, as he willed his steps to land a little softer. "Is your life worth nothing to you?" Saya's inquisitive nature took on the role of the older brother he so coveted. Much like a rebellious sibling, it steered him down many less than ideal paths over the years. By some miracle, he'd managed to avoid legitimate danger in his adolescence. Until today. Had his parents still life in their bodies, they'd lock him up and throw away the key. Provided he ever made it back. The desire to sneak into Lahore clung to him like a burr to a wool sweater. Back then, the wall itself terrified him to his very core and he didn't dare go near it. The monolithic structure dominated Saya's village, watching him grow from the clouds. Cracks formed from years of natural wear and abuse since the barrier's erection. As a precocious, raven-eyed boy, observing from high in the trees, he'd seen many come to vandalize the rock. At first, to steal from the base. Later, with tools to harvest specified sections for extra coin. Finally, a gaping hole formed, daring them to crawl through, and a few brave souls caved to coercion and accepted the challenge. Before long, Saya's intrusive thoughts would start to pressure him. To drink deep of Lahore's secrets and quench his lifelong thirst. To unlock his dormant potential, he must taste Lahore's vintage. To access the cellar that guarded it, he must break the law. Rather than teeth and steel, Lahore greeted Saya with darkness. Those looking to get away, to a place of silence minus prying eyes would come here. Filth littered the ground, evidence of dirty habits tossed without a care. Nicotine hung in the air, turning Saya's empty stomach. While unpleasant, the deterrent didn't stop him leaving footprints on the dirty ground. While there were no vicio in sight, it didn't mean they weren't there, watching from the shadows, waiting to pounce. Analyzing the new threat under the cover of night. Like a snuffer over a white-hot flame, Saya pulled his hood over his hair. Toying at the frayed edges with a ready talon, he strode down the dark passageway. Each looming street lamp painted the bricks and damp stone. He tightened his grip, as if he were afraid he'd glow in the dark as soon as light touched him. Something dangerous shattered underfoot, drawing a curse from Saya's throat. He could feel the pulse of his heart, shock waves of hunger's drum, moving through his entire body. And then a voice slithered from the darkness. Well, it said. The border offered no crevices, cracks or corners to hide. Gray concrete littered with detritus stretched as far as the eye could see. Every few feet marked with warm light from above. Not blazing like a roaring fire, but aware enough to point out what lay at the base. How had he not noticed the ominous presence sooner? The man, a tower of black and crimson, nursing a cancer stick, peeled himself from the shadows. A jagged scar beneath one eye matched similar markings on his practiced arms. A chiseled garrison? A kind, handsome local, eager to give him directions? The latter seemed most unlikely. The hoot of an owl prickled Saya's ears, but his focus didn't leave those blazing eyes. The beautiful winged creature above and this man shared the same reasoning for being out at such an hour. On the prowl for something smaller, weaker, and less fortunate. The owl need only fill its belly, whereas this man's primary motivator felt lascivious. Aren't you a pretty one? His voice, grave deep, held an outrageous lull of seduction. The compliment in another circumstance might have led to somewhere soft and horizontal. The heat in Saya's veins told him to trust his instincts. This man had more than release on his mind, and it sent a chill up Saya's spine. You've got some nerve, he said. The cool night air carried the metallic essence of Saya's mere blood between them. The man's nose crinkled in disdain, his expression akin to having taken a big whiff of rotten garbage. A powerful reminder that this was not a back-alley exchange with a beautiful man met in a bar, it's criminal, to the highest extent of the law. Every word the man spoke dripped with fury, but Saya understood too well the meaning behind the languid gaze tracing his leather-clad body. Feet away from the passageway cold-shouldered by the moon, a bustling nearby street bled neon into the alley's mouth. Saya's talons scratched his collarbone as he secured his cloak, a suspicious eye trained on the approaching man. His well-formed features might have attracted Saya had they met elsewhere and had he a few beers in him already. The man fit his type. Tall, dark, imposing frame, voice like the growl of a bear. But something in his tone turned these otherwise appealing traits rancid. Venom burned hot in Saya's veins and stung his gums. It felt like someone had injected hot lead into the glands there. Muggy air filled his lungs as he did his best to focus on the threat now standing entirely too close. The man took another puff of his cigarette and in a masochistic move stifled the hot tip against the side of his neck. The horrendous odor of burning flesh replaced the nicotine. Beneath the stench of decay, there lingered an oddly pleasant aroma akin to an oven-fresh citrus tart, presented in a bouquet of dizzying vanilla. The scent felt misplaced on this unpleasant creature's skin. He'd been told of the intoxicating power of Visio blood. How it lured unsuspecting victims until they'd fallen into a hole too deep to climb out of. The burn of sharp fangs in their skin or a knife in their gut. "You're a mere," he said, nose crinkled in disdain, repulsion evident with each word he spoke. But the man's intrigue and obvious lust won out above all other feelings. He both hated Saya and wanted him. That prospect felt worse. A vampire? In these parts? How absurd, he must have thought. Determined, Saya grounded his feet. The sweet scent intensified as the enforcer leaned in, sharp nose a whisper from Saya's jugular. He recoiled, but only just, still closer than two hostile strangers should be. The hatred between the two species, as similar as they may be, still ran deep. Though warnings throughout his formative years told him to treat Visio as mythology, Saya had to see them for himself. If caught, he could face a lifetime behind bars, or learn what it feels like to repeatedly wake 6 feet under with a mouthful of dirt in place of oxygen. Judging by the scrutinous gaze scanning him like radar, this man just might be itching to put Saya there. Saya fought the urge to deliver a vicious slap, or grab the hand hovering at his waist and snap each finger like crisp carrots. "I will kill you," he promised, breath like hot vapor on Saya's neck. "And I will enjoy it. But first, let's have some fun." A hand snaked inside Saya's cloak, punctuating his words. An unwelcome, almost piercing squeeze to the midsection almost had Saya acting on his baser instincts. He could practically feel the warmth in his mouth. To feed on a Visio would make Saya liable to face consequences for a much greater crime than crossing the border. But that would only be if he kept the man alive, right? He could drain this vile wretch until he resembled a crushed and barren juice box and be on his way. Unlike the poor woodland creatures unlucky enough to cross his path on a hunt, he wouldn't lose a wink of sleep over deleting this man from existence. A vein in his neck shifted and the emanating smell of smoke from his skin turned Saya's stomach. Taking the opportunity of striking while his guard was down, Saya moved like lightning. He zipped around the man's back, dodging attempts to capture his lips, taking a more than capable but unsuspecting arm with him. It twisted in a manner most unnatural as Saya introduced the Visio's knuckles to his shoulder blade. Using his body weight he pushed against the trapped limb, giving the man the physical contact he craved moments prior. Instead of pleasure though, the man cried out in ferocious pain.